Welcome back to English Story Hub, the place where history, mystery, and great stories come alive through simple and immersive English narration. Tonight, we journey back more than 2,000 years to explore one of the greatest civilizations the world has ever known, the Roman Empire. From the legendary story of Romulus and Remus, to the rise of mighty emperors, fearless generals, and colossal armies, Rome transformed from a small settlement beside the Tiber River into a vast empire that ruled much of the known world. In this story, you will witness epic wars, political intrigue, legendary leaders like Julius Caesar and Augustus, and the dramatic rise and fall of a civilization that shaped the future of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. So dim the lights, relax, and let the ancient world unfold before your imagination. This is the Roman Empire. Long before Rome became the heart of a mighty empire, its story began in shadowy legend, where myth and history blended together along the banks of the Tiber River. According to ancient Roman tradition, twin brothers Romulus and Remus were born to a Vestal virgin named Rhea Silvia and the god Mars, the fierce deity of war. Their birth frightened a jealous king, who feared the children might one day challenge his power. He ordered the infants thrown into the Tiber River and left to die. Yet fate had other plans. The river carried the twins gently downstream until they came to rest near the hills where Rome would someday rise. There, beneath the shelter of a fig tree, a she-wolf discovered the helpless children and nursed them as if they were her own. Later, a shepherd named Faustulus found the boys and raised them in the countryside. As the twins grew older, they became strong, fearless young men. Eventually, they learned the truth about their royal bloodline and decided to build a new city near the place where they had been saved. But ambition and pride drove the brothers into conflict. In a tragic moment that would forever echo through Roman history, Romulus killed Remus and became the sole founder of the new settlement. Standing upon what later became known as the Palatine Hill, Romulus marked the borders of his city with a plough in the year now remembered as 753 BCE. The Romans would later use this moment as the beginning of their history. At first, Rome was only a modest cluster of huts overlooking the Tiber River. Stronger Etruscan cities lay to the north, while wealthy Greek colonies flourished in the south. Romulus sought to strengthen his fragile community by welcoming outsiders, refugees, exiles, wanderers, and fugitives from neighboring regions. But this growing settlement faced a serious problem. There were very few women among the new citizens. To solve this, Roman legend tells of the famous Sabine women episode. Romulus invited the neighboring Sabines to a grand festival, and during the celebration, Roman men seized the Sabine women and took them as wives. Though violent and controversial, the story reflected Rome's harsh and determined spirit in its earliest years. For nearly 2.5 centuries after Romulus, Rome was ruled by kings. Tradition speaks of 7 monarchs who slowly transformed the small village into a rising regional power. After Romulus came Numa Pompilius, remembered as a peaceful and deeply religious ruler. He established many of Rome's sacred traditions and priesthoods, including the office of Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest of Roman religion. Numa also built the Temple of Janus, whose gates were closed only during times of peace, something that happened very rarely in Roman history. The third king, Tullus Hostilius, was a warrior king who expanded Rome through conquest. During his reign, Rome defeated Alba Longa, an important neighboring city, and absorbed its people into Roman society. This policy of incorporating defeated populations would later become one of Rome's greatest strengths. The fourth king, Ancus Marcius, combined warfare with practical development. He built Rome's first bridge across the Tiber River and founded the port city of Ostia near the river's mouth, opening valuable trade routes to the Mediterranean world. Under the fifth king, Tarquinius Priscus, Etruscan influence shaped Roman culture more deeply. Great construction projects began during his rule, including the Temple of Jupiter on the Capitoline Hill and the Circus Maximus, where chariot races entertained crowds. Massive drainage systems also transformed swampy land into the Roman Forum, which would later become the political center of the city. Servius Tullius, the sixth king, reorganized Roman society according to wealth and military service. He divided citizens into classes and created assemblies that shaped Roman political life for centuries. He also ordered the construction of defensive walls surrounding the famous 7 hills of Rome. The final king, Tarquinius Superbus, known as Tarquin the Proud, ruled as a tyrant. Though impressive building projects continued under his reign, his cruelty and arrogance angered Rome's nobles. The crisis reached its breaking point after Tarquin's son assaulted a noblewoman named Lucretia. Her tragedy outraged the Roman people and inspired a rebellion led by Lucius Junius Brutus. In 509 BCE, the monarchy was overthrown. Tarquin and his family fled into exile, and Rome entered a bold new chapter, the age of the Republic. The Roman Republic was designed to prevent any one man from holding too much power. Instead of a king, Rome elected 2 consuls each year. These leaders shared authority and could block each other's decisions, creating a balance meant to protect liberty. Supporting them was the Senate, a powerful council made up largely of aristocratic families. Yet the young republic faced immediate dangers. Enemies threatened Rome from outside, while conflict divided society from within. The wealthy patricians controlled political power, while ordinary citizens, known as plebeians, struggled with debt and inequality. At one point, frustrated plebeian soldiers abandoned the city in protest, carrying out what historians often describe as one of history's earliest general strikes. Their actions forced the ruling class to create the office of tribune of the plebs, officials who defended common citizens against abuses of power. Soon afterward came another major reform, the creation of the 12 Tables, Rome's first written laws. Displayed publicly in the Forum, these laws made legal procedures more transparent and laid the foundation for Roman legal tradition. As Rome stabilized internally, it expanded steadily across Italy. The Republic fought wars against neighboring tribes, Etruscans, and rival cities. But Rome suffered a terrifying disaster when invading Celtic Gauls defeated Roman forces and sacked the city itself. According to legend, sacred geese in the temple of Juno warned defenders of a surprise attack during the night, saving the Capitoline Hill from capture. Despite the devastation, Rome recovered quickly. Stronger walls were built, alliances expanded, and Roman influence spread farther across the Italian peninsula. As Rome expanded across the Italian peninsula during the early 3rd century BCE, it eventually came into contact with the wealthy and highly cultured Greek cities of southern Italy, a region the Romans called Magna Graecia, or Greater Greece. These coastal cities, founded centuries earlier by Greek settlers, were centers of art, philosophy, trade, and military power. Unlike the rugged farming communities of early Rome, the Greeks of southern Italy lived in sophisticated cities filled with temples, theaters, and bustling harbors connected to the wider Mediterranean world. Among these Greek cities, Tarentum became especially alarmed by Rome's growing influence. Fearful that Roman expansion would eventually swallow their independence, the city appealed for help to one of the most respected military leaders of the age, King Pyrrhus of Epirus. Pyrrhus was a brilliant Greek king from western Greece and a distant relative of Alexander the Great. Ambitious and confident, he dreamed of building his own great empire in the west. In 280 BCE, he crossed the Adriatic Sea into Italy with a professional army unlike anything the Romans had faced before. His forces included heavily armored Greek phalanxes, skilled cavalry, and terrifying war elephants imported from the east. The arrival of these elephants stunned Roman soldiers. Horses panicked at the sight and smell of the massive beasts, while the towering animals crushed enemy lines beneath their weight. Pyrrhus defeated the Romans at the battles of Heraclea and Asculum, proving that Rome could be beaten in open battle. Yet each victory came at an enormous cost. Pyrrhus lost thousands of experienced soldiers whom he could not easily replace, while Rome, with its large population and strong alliance system, continued raising fresh armies year after year. After one especially bloody battle, Pyrrhus is said to have remarked, "If we are victorious in one more battle with the Romans, we shall be utterly ruined." From this came the famous expression Pyrrhic victory, meaning a triumph so costly that it is almost equivalent to defeat. Unable to destroy Rome completely, Pyrrhus eventually withdrew from Italy. By 275 BCE, Roman power dominated the entire Italian peninsula south of the Po River. Rome had transformed itself from a regional republic into the leading power of Italy. But an even greater challenge waited beyond the sea. Across the Mediterranean, on the coast of North Africa, stood Carthage, one of the wealthiest and most powerful cities in the ancient world. Founded centuries earlier by Phoenician settlers from Tyre, Carthage controlled a vast maritime trading empire stretching across North Africa, Spain, Sardinia, Corsica, and western Sicily. Its merchants commanded Mediterranean commerce, while its navy was feared throughout the ancient world. The rivalry between Rome and Carthage would erupt into a series of conflicts known as the Punic Wars, named after the Roman word for the Carthaginians, punici. The First Punic War began over the island of Sicily in 264 BCE. Rome had little naval experience compared to Carthage, whose sailors had ruled the seas for generations. Yet the Romans adapted with remarkable determination. They captured a Carthaginian ship and used it as a model to build their own fleet. To compensate for their lack of naval skill, they equipped their ships with boarding bridges called corvi, allowing Roman infantry to fight hand-to-hand on enemy decks. After more than 2 decades of brutal warfare, Rome emerged victorious. Sicily became Rome's first overseas province, and Carthage was forced to pay a heavy indemnity. But the peace did not last. The Second Punic War, beginning in 218 BCE, became one of the greatest military struggles in history. The Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca sought revenge against Rome for his nation's earlier defeat. A military genius from childhood, Hannibal launched a daring campaign that shocked the ancient world. Instead of attacking by sea, Hannibal marched his army from Spain across southern Gaul and over the towering Alps into northern Italy. His force included tens of thousands of soldiers, cavalry from Numidia, and even war elephants. The journey was horrific. Snowstorms, landslides, freezing temperatures, and attacks from mountain tribes devastated his army. Many men and animals perished before reaching Italy. Yet Hannibal's arrival stunned Rome. Over the next several years, Hannibal inflicted a series of catastrophic defeats upon Roman armies. At the Trebia River and Lake Trasimene, Roman forces were trapped and destroyed through brilliant ambush tactics. Then came the Battle of Cannae in 216 BCE, perhaps the most famous battlefield disaster in Roman history. At Cannae, Hannibal deliberately allowed the center of his army to slowly retreat, drawing Roman legions inward. Then his experienced African infantry attacked from both flanks while cavalry sealed off the rear. The Roman army became completely surrounded. What followed was a massacre. Ancient historians claimed that as many as 50,000 to 70,000 Romans died in a single day. The defeat shocked the Republic to its core. Entire noble families vanished in the slaughter. Allies began abandoning Rome. Fear spread throughout Italy. Many believed Rome was finished. But Rome refused to surrender. Instead of negotiating peace, the Republic displayed extraordinary resilience. New armies were raised from every available citizen, including boys and elderly men. The Roman general Quintus Fabius Maximus adopted cautious delaying tactics, avoiding direct battle while slowly wearing Hannibal down. Though mocked at first for his caution, Fabius preserved Rome during its darkest hour. Meanwhile, a young commander named Publius Cornelius Scipio emerged as Rome's greatest hope. While Hannibal campaigned in Italy, Scipio attacked Carthaginian territories in Spain, cutting off Hannibal's reinforcements and resources. Later, Scipio boldly invaded North Africa itself, threatening the city of Carthage. Forced to defend his homeland, Hannibal finally left Italy after nearly 15 years of war. In 202 BCE, at the Battle of Zama, Scipio defeated Hannibal decisively. Roman tactics neutralized the war elephants, while superior cavalry secured victory. Hannibal escaped, but Carthage's power was broken forever. Rome now stood as the dominant force in the western Mediterranean. In the decades that followed, Roman legions expanded eastward into the Greek world. Macedonia, once ruled by the heirs of Alexander the Great, fell under Roman control. Greece itself was gradually absorbed into the Roman sphere, and wealthy eastern kingdoms became Roman provinces or client states. These victories transformed Rome beyond recognition. Enormous wealth flowed into Italy from conquered lands. Gold, silver, artwork, slaves, and luxury goods poured into Roman cities. Victorious generals celebrated magnificent triumphs through the streets of Rome, displaying captured treasures and chained prisoners before cheering crowds. But prosperity carried hidden dangers. The influx of enslaved labor devastated small Roman farmers. Wealthy aristocrats bought vast estates called latifundia, worked by slaves captured during Rome's wars. Many ordinary citizens lost their land and drifted into the growing city of Rome, where poverty and unemployment increased. Political corruption worsened as ambitious nobles competed fiercely for power. Governors exploited provinces for personal wealth, while military commanders gained immense loyalty from their soldiers by promising land and rewards. The Roman Republic, originally designed to govern a modest city-state, struggled to control a sprawling Mediterranean empire. By the 2nd century BCE, reformers attempted to address these growing inequalities. Tiberius Gracchus proposed redistributing public land to poor citizens, but wealthy senators resisted fiercely. In 133 BCE, he was murdered by a mob of senators and their supporters. A decade later, his brother Gaius Gracchus suffered a similar fate after attempting broader reforms. These killings shattered long-standing political traditions. Violence became increasingly common in Roman politics. Soon powerful military leaders began using armies as political tools. Gaius Marius reformed the Roman military by recruiting landless citizens, creating soldiers whose loyalty often belonged more to their generals than to the republic itself. His rival, Lucius Cornelius Sulla, eventually marched his own army against Rome, becoming the first Roman commander to seize the city by force. Civil war followed civil war. Amid this chaos rose three extraordinarily ambitious men: Pompey the Great, Marcus Licinius Crassus, and Julius Caesar. Together they formed an unofficial alliance later known as the First Triumvirate. Caesar soon gained command in Gaul, where he spent years conquering vast territories corresponding roughly to modern France and Belgium. His campaigns brought unimaginable wealth, experienced armies, and immense popularity among the Roman people. As Caesar's influence grew, tensions with Pompey and the Senate intensified. Ordered to surrender his command and return to Rome as a private citizen, Caesar instead made a fateful decision in 49 BCE. Crossing the small Rubicon River with his army, he entered Italy illegally and effectively declared war on the Republic. According to tradition, he proclaimed, "The die is cast." Caesar defeated Pompey and his allies in a series of civil wars and emerged as the undisputed ruler of Rome. He introduced major reforms, reorganized government, expanded citizenship, and created the Julian calendar, which became the basis for the modern calendar used today. Yet many senators feared Caesar sought kingship, a title Romans deeply despised since the overthrow of their ancient monarchy centuries earlier. On the Ides of March 1544 BCE, a group of senators led by Brutus and Cassius assassinated Caesar inside the Senate House. They believed they were saving the Republic. Instead, they unleashed another wave of civil war. Caesar's adopted heir, Octavian, allied temporarily with Mark Antony and Lepidus to defeat Caesar's assassins. But the alliance eventually collapsed into rivalry. Antony formed a political and romantic alliance with Cleopatra VII, Queen of Egypt, alarming many Romans who feared Eastern influence over Rome. The final struggle came in 31 BCE at the naval battle of Actium. Octavian's forces defeated Antony and Cleopatra, who later committed suicide in Egypt. Octavian emerged as the sole ruler of the Roman world. Unlike Caesar, Octavian ruled carefully and strategically. Rather than openly declaring himself king, he preserved the outward forms of republican government while quietly holding supreme authority behind the scenes. In 27 BCE, the Senate awarded him the title Augustus, meaning the revered one. With Augustus, the Roman Republic effectively ended, and the Roman Empire began. Over the centuries that followed, Rome expanded across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Roman roads connected distant provinces. Aqueducts carried water into great cities. Roman law shaped legal systems for generations to come. Latin language and Roman culture spread across continents. Yet beneath the grandeur of empire remained the memory of Rome's humble beginnings, a small settlement beside the Tiber River, born from legend, forged through warfare, and driven by an endless pursuit of glory. And so, my friends, the story of the Roman Empire slowly comes to an end. For more than 1,000 years, Rome shaped the world in ways people still feel today. From small villages beside the Tiber River to a vast empire stretching across 3 continents, The Romans built roads, cities, laws, aqueducts, and armies that changed human history forever. They created great victories, but they also faced greed, betrayal, war, and collapse. Emperors rose to power and disappeared. Mighty generals conquered distant lands. Ordinary people lived, worked, loved, and struggled beneath the shadow of Rome's enormous power. And yet, even the greatest empire in the world could not last forever. Slowly, the empire weakened. Enemies attacked from outside. Corruption and conflict grew inside. And finally, the western half of Rome fell in 476 AD. But Rome never truly disappeared. Its ideas, language, architecture, and laws continued to influence the world for centuries. Even today, many modern governments, buildings, and legal systems still carry the fingerprints of ancient Rome. And perhaps that is one of the most important lessons history teaches us. Powerful kingdoms may rise and fall, but ideas can live forever. Now, my friend, I want to say something to you before we say goodbye tonight. Every time you listen to stories like this in English, you are doing something extraordinary. You are not only learning a language. You are opening a door to history, culture, and knowledge from around the world. Every new word you understand is another step forward. Every story you finish is proof that your English is growing stronger day by day. So never give up. Keep listening. Keep learning. Keep improving, one sentence at a time. Thank you for spending this time with me here on English Story Hub. If you enjoyed today's journey through the Roman Empire, leave a comment below and tell me which part fascinated you the most. Was it the Roman army, the gladiators, Julius Caesar, or the fall of Rome itself? I would love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay curious, and never stop learning. Good night, my friends.